Hello everybody, back with today's video. I'm very happy that actually quite a few people left comments on my recent shorts, so I have quite a few comments to talk about today when it comes to learning. And yeah, people are learning a lot of interesting and cool things, so I want to try and help everyone out. If there's anything you want me to talk about, I will make a video for you, so please leave a comment. Anything about learning, specifically learning a skill or something competitive, but anything is okay. Anyways, let's get right into it. First comment is from Royal Can't Hear You. Okay, and they said, painting. I'm okay at it, but I've just sort of been okay at it for a while. I'm not really getting any better at it despite practicing. Okay, my first piece of advice is I actually have a video about one, why you're stuck when it comes to learning, and two, sorry, I just got a text message that I need to ignore. And two, how to get out of learning ruts. So if you want even more information than what I'm about to tell you, you can go check out that video. So how do we actually start to improve when we're stuck at a skill? Okay, the first piece of advice I have for you is mass input. So what do I mean by this? So a lot of people think just the more I do my skill, the more I'm going to improve, which is partially true on some level for some skills. But actually, if you really want to improve, you really want to reach a high level, I think it's really important to get a lot of input regarding your skill. And what do I mean by input? What I mean is go and watch videos about painting, go and learn about famous painters and the style that they painted, go look at lots of paintings in museums. Okay, go and get a lot of input regarding your skill. So if you're really interested in painting, you want to become a better painter, what actually is going to happen is all that information, all that input you get about painting that you put into your brain is going to be pushed into output later when you actually start painting again. Okay, now of course you can't just go and research a bunch about painting and then immediately improve. That's not how it works. You have to be consistently painting, on your own while you're inputting in painting. And again, by inputting, I just mean engaging with anything regarding painting, whether it's listening to a podcast or going to a museum to look at paintings or going online and researching about paintings, seeing different types of paintings, okay? Different types of, I'm not really into painting, but learning about different types of writing, painting utensils and things of that nature. Any of that I would consider input. Okay, and before I go too much further, I have a video about input as well. There's what I would call general input and then contextual input. And general input is just anything regarding your skill, whether it's entertaining content or educational content regarding painting, any kind of input. And then contextual input is like, for example, when you're painting and you notice that something in your painting is slightly off, or you don't know exactly how to do something in your painting, that's kind of like your limit of knowledge. Okay, you're kind of at a point where you don't know how to proceed. That's like your limit of knowledge, and going and finding information about that specific thing, that specific limit of knowledge is what I would call contextual input, which if you really want to improve quickly, finding like where you're lacking in your paintings and being able to notice kind of where you're not able to, sorry, English doesn't work for me, and kind of noticing where you stop knowing what you're doing and you don't exactly know how to proceed, that's really valuable information that you can go find about that specific thing. If you do that over and over again, you'll improve really quickly. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult to notice, especially with something kind of abstract like painting. So I'll talk about that more in a second. Okay, next, when it comes to improving, we need to keep our motivation high. If you have no motivation to actually improve, then you're not going to. So what I would say is painting something that you connect with on a deep level, like you're still enjoying and you're still connecting with on a deep level, because that's important. Because sometimes skills, we connect with them on a deep level for a long time, but eventually they kind of phase out of our life, which is totally okay. So I think it's important to ask yourself, are you still motivated for painting intrinsically? Is it something you still enjoy? Okay. And if it's not, like somebody left a comment below your comment, I think as well, that I really agree with. If you're feeling like you're kind of stuck and you're not motivated, it is important to change things up and try new styles and try a variety of different things within your skill. And that can help bring that motivation back. But it's also important to notice that, like, even if you wait a long time and you just don't feel the motivation ever coming back for that specific skill, it may be time to move on to a new skill or try something new in your life. But a lot of times the motivation just goes up and down when you're learning a skill, and that's totally normal. Anyways, next thing that's going to help you improve is just the sheer amount of time you spend practicing. The more time you spend painting, the more time you're engaged in anything related to painting, the more you're going to improve, okay? Again, you can get all the learning, all the input about painting you want. Unless you're actually painting a lot, you're not going to improve very quickly. So again, the amount of time you spend practicing is going to be directly related to the amount of motivation you have. So doing whatever you need to do to keep your motivation high is going to be really important. Okay, next up is the ability to notice. Okay, so the ability to notice maybe parts of your paintings that are lacking, or maybe when you're thinking about what to paint, you don't know, what connects to you. Again, I'm not a painter, so I'm just completely freeballing what painting is like. But the ability to notice maybe where your paintings differ from somebody who's a very well-known painter. Again, painting is very abstract. Like, to every single person, I guess the value of painting is going to be different, so it's kind of hard to measure. But again, the ability to notice where you feel like you're lacking in an area and you want to improve is going to be really important. And part of your ability to notice is going to be engaging with really high level pieces of paintings, okay, really high level paintings, and seeing what they do and seeing how it differs from what you do. You could also get like a coach or have somebody who's a really good painter look your paintings and kind of critique them, and that can help you notice as well. But just having an open mind, being, actually focusing on like what you're doing differently from really high level painters, really, in your eyes, really good painters, is going to help you a lot, because then you'll find what you actually want to improve on, and then you can go find information on those specific things to improve, and then you'll start really feeling the improvement, and your motivation will come back again once you start improving more. Another thing you have to remember, like if you're already a pretty good painter, there's going to be like a trade-off. So time spent versus improvement ratio. The better and better you get, okay, the kind of longer it takes to feel improvement. Even though you're kind of still improving at the same rate, if not even quicker, the better and better you get, the less noticeable that improvement feels. So you have to decide for yourself if you want to improve more or not from this point, because honestly, like a lot of skills, I get to a decent level, or I've gotten to a decent level, and I just decided like it's not worth improving past this point, because I know it's going to take more time than it's worth, and more time that I'd like to spend doing something else. So it kind of depends on what you want to do with painting in general, because maybe the current level you're at is pretty good and you don't even care to get better if you think about it really deeply. Maybe you just want to do it as something you enjoy. So anyways, that's my advice for painting. If you have any other questions, please let me know and I'll try to follow up. But yeah, I recommend checking out some of my other videos as well. I think they might help you even more. All right, next up, we're going to, sorry, I have hair in my mouth. Next up, we're talking about Hacky Sack. Okay, very interesting skill, cool skill. So this is from John Link Deek 4065. Hopefully I said that right. I'm trying to learn to Hacky Sack, LOL. I can juggle, so I thought getting the foot-eye coordination wouldn't be too hard. Okay, first off, yeah, Hacky Sack, great skill, I think. Probably isn't gonna make you any money or anything like that, but I think it's really cool. It can be a fun skill. So yeah, again, so it sounds like you're at the very beginning stage of learning Hacky Sack, which really just means that the main thing you have to do is just spend more time doing your skill. Because at the beginning, you don't need like some grand plan for how to improve usually, or you don't need some like super detailed system for how to improve. All you really have to do is just keep playing with your skill, keep immersing in your skill, and just see if it is something you want to improve on even more. And if you decide it's something you want to improve on even more, then I'd recommend checking out some of my other videos on how to really get good, really good at anything you're doing. But yeah, since you're at the beginning phase, just enjoy doing Hacky Sack, engage with content relating to Hacky Sack, watch people who are really good at it. If you see something you want to do, like you watch somebody who's really good and you think, oh, that trick is really cool, It may be too hard for you at the time, but if you break it down into like its component parts, you may be able to learn those individual component parts slowly over time. Because I found that on some skills where, kind of similar to Hacky Sack, sometimes I'll really want to learn something that's kind of outside of what I can currently do. And because I really want to learn that, that actually pushes me even more quickly, even though it's kind of outside what I should probably be practicing, like general beginner advice, like practicing very basic things. Because I'm really motivated to do it, I actually end up learning more quickly. But yeah, that's going to depend on you. So if you're just a beginner, obviously following beginner tutorials is going to be totally fine. But yeah, it's important to kind of follow what you find motivating when it comes to hacky sacking. So, you know, find a cool skill or a cool technique that you see somebody do, break it down into its component parts, and then, you know, learn from there. So for example, the way this might work is like, you see somebody do a cool skill and you're like, okay, I want to do that. So you go and you look at a tutorial video for that specific technique, right? And then there's going to be like the first step to the technique. And if you can't do the first step, then obviously you're going to have to sit and practice on the first step. So that first step will become your goal. And then once you get through that, you know, specific first step, then the next step, then the next step, then the next step. And that's kind of how learning works in general. You're going to hit these points of constraint, okay, these limits of knowledge where you don't know how to do something or you don't know what to do. And you need to spend resources pushing past each of those specific points. So another piece of advice I'll give you also is that when it comes to learning anything, especially something that's like physical, you know, coordination related, it takes time for your brain to really change, okay? So you're not going to see a ton of progress all at once. What you really need is consistent, slow progress every day, engaging with your skill. So instead of doing your skill for 5 hours on one day, doing your skill for 1 hour on 5 different days, you're going to see a lot more benefit, especially if you're really deeply focusing on what you're doing for that 1 hour. Or, you know, if it's hacky sacking, I don't know how long you want to spend on it. Maybe you only want to spend a little bit on it and not too long on it every day, but just for example, like 1 hour a day. And yeah, aiming for consistent, slow progress, improving, because it really takes time for, you know, your brain to actually change and keep up with what you're doing. Okay, next up, yep, following your motivation, aiming for consistent, slow progress. Okay, just enjoying what you're doing again, because you're just starting the skill, so there's no need to go crazy with it. And then also inputting, so getting input regarding your skill, whether it's watching videos about hacky sacking, listening to a podcast about hacky sacking, okay, I don't know what other kinds of input there is for hacky sack, reading books about hacky sacking, etc. All right, next up, sorry, I just accidentally erased this person's name, so let me rewrite it. Okay. Next up, we have a more general question. Sorry guys, I'm also learning my skill, which is making YouTube videos, and I still kind of suck at it too, so, which is completely normal in the beginning, no matter what you do. All right, so next person is Jenny for Jesus, and she says, I want to learn how to stay focused and keep a positive mindset. Yeah, this is a really difficult one, but I'm gonna assume this is in the context of learning some specific skill, but I'm gonna try to give you some general advice for what I would do. So the number one thing, in my opinion, for maintaining focus and purpose for a skill is your connection internally to that skill and your purpose for doing that skill. So obviously a lot of people have circumstances where they're forced to do something that they don't want to do, or they're forced to learn a skill or they don't want to do. And I think those can be really difficult, but if you want to push through those circumstances, I think it's important to understand that there is a purpose behind you doing that. But if at all possible, I think it's best to engage with something that you at least have some level of interest in improving at on a like fundamental intrinsic level. So instead of society telling you that this is cool or being pushed into this certain direction by society, I think it's important to kind of connect with what is important to you at your core when you're engaging in any skill. And that's going to be the number one thing when it comes to keeping your motivation high and being able to keep improving and learning and staying positive. Okay, I need to write something else in this. So yeah, I think a lot of people end up, they try to learn a skill just because they want to make a lot of money or something of that nature. And I think in the end, it can be really difficult for them to maintain motivation because they don't have that intrinsic drive to keep doing the skill and keep actually improving and engaging with it deeply. So I'm not saying that you need to that you can only do something that you're 100% motivated for, because like obviously a lot of things that we're motivated for aren't going to make us money, and they're not going to provide food for our family and things of that nature. But instead of just intrinsic motivation, I think it's just having a purpose for whatever skill it is you're learning, knowing that that skill has a place in your life. If you keep putting a lot of time into it, that it's going to benefit your life in some way or another. Okay, next tip on how to stay focused and positive is following motivation. So again, a lot of people feel like when they're learning a skill, I have to follow what someone else did. I have to follow a textbook. I have to learn something in this exact way because that's the way you do it. In my opinion, that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to follow your motivation on some level. Again, like I was talking about with the Hacky Sack guy, if there's a certain technique that you think is really cool and really interesting, I think trying to learn that technique instead of trying to learn a bunch of beginner techniques you don't care about is actually going to benefit you more in the long run than trying to follow some specific set way of learning. I think a lot of people fall into that trap. You need to follow your motivation, kind of ride your motivation, okay? So you can't always follow your motivation because a lot of times your brain is going to try to take the easiest route out of doing things, right? And you're not actually going to improve that much. So you have to push yourself and have some level of discipline. But I think in understanding that learning should be an enjoyable process, should be fun, you should be learning things that you're interested in, is going to help keep your motivation high, keep a positive mindset. Okay, next up, setting yourself up to succeed. So one reason a lot of people lose motivation and can't stay focused is because they aren't feeling like they're improving doing whatever it is. So they're not setting themselves up to actually improve at whatever skill they're doing. So if you want more information on how to really improve at a skill, like obviously I talked about it some in this video, but you can check out some of my other long form videos. I think they'll really help you out. Like I have videos on how to stay motivated, learning ruts, things of that nature that I think can help you. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. So yeah, setting yourself up to succeed, knowing that what you're doing is actually gonna work in the long run for improving is gonna be really important to staying motivated, because if you know there's gonna be a positive outcome at the end of what you're doing, it becomes much easier to actually continue doing whatever it is. Okay, next one is related to motivation again, but again, it's just a variety within your skill. If you're really bored within your skill and you feel like you're doing the same exact thing every single day, maybe try something new, try something different within your skill. A lot of things that you think at the beginning aren't right for you, once you actually try them, you realize, oh, maybe this is even better of a fit than the thing I was doing before. So I think it's important to just allow yourself to explore within your skill, having an open mind, keeping a variety. Okay, and last one, again, this is really similar to setting yourself up to succeed, but it's just trusting the process. Trusting that you can learn whatever it is you want to learn. You can improve at whatever it is you want to improve at, as long as you do the right things, give your brain the right input, okay? Keep an open mind, keep engaging deeply with your skill, focusing on your skill, that you will eventually improve at your skill, and that will help push you through those really difficult times, help you keep a positive mindset. Anyways, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Again, if there's anything you'd like to add, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Check out some of my other videos. I think they'll help you a lot. I know that I myself am working on teaching. So I've learned a lot of skills in the past, but teaching people how to learn skills, formulating your thoughts in a way that is easy to understand, and really, because there's so much information when it comes to learning, so really figuring out what's the most important information to deliver to people for their specific situation is something I'm still working on. So obviously this video isn't perfect, but hopefully it helped you out. Anyways, guys, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.